Hello, my name is Willie and I'm from Starbucks. Today I want to share the regulations which foreign stars in Taiwan need to be know. So here is my brief introductions about myself. My name is Willie and I'm the marketing deputy director in Starbucks. So if you have any kind of stars questions, you can feel free to scan this QR code and join my linkings and share your information to me. Yeah, so today I will be separate for three parts. The first part will be the visas part. It's like to make sure you can legally stay in Taiwan for your startups. And the second part will be the company establishments. If you want to stay in Taiwan for startups, obviously you need to set up your companies in Taiwan. So I will sharing what kind of regulations you need to be followed for company establishments. And the last part will be the talent hirings. Because after you finish your company establishments, you need to hire talents to join your company. So here are some regulations you need to be followed for hiring foreigners or hiring the employees in Taiwan. Yeah. So for the first part will be the visas parts. For example, if you want to stay in Taiwan for even studies or even like working, you need to have the student visas or working visas to make sure you can stay in Taiwan. But for the startups or entrepreneurs, you need to have this kind of visas to make sure you can legally stay in Taiwan for your own startups. So here are the contents about their regulations. It's a little bit complicated, so I already put some points to easy to enhance the points. So here are the contents for the entrepreneur visas. So for the contents will be reviews directors of entrepreneur visas qualifications for foreign nationals. So here this is the plans for the executive yuan for promotes the entrepreneur visa. So which means Taiwan is want to encourage foreign stars to stay in Taiwan for using this kind of visas. And there is the points will be every applications need to be reviewed by the MOEIC. So which means it's the investment commissions from the SMEA, MOEA. Yeah, so you need to mention about a lot of your business plans and your business idea why you choose Taiwan, and the MOEIC will be review it and make sure you can use entrepreneur visas to visit Taiwan or stay in Taiwan for your own startups. Yeah, so here are the standards for applying the entrepreneur visas. So here are 5 standards you need to be followed. You just need to meet one of them. So here are 5 of them. So the first ones will be you need to raise at least 2 million NT dollars for your startups or companies in Taiwan. And the second part will be you need to register with the Global Incubation Boards for startups and accelerator firms, GISA. So both of them will be a little bit difficult for the early stage starts. So here are some much more easier ones for the early stage starts. So for the third ones will be you need to have the patents in Taiwan. If you have designed the products or designed the merchandise related to the physical ones, you need to have the patents, inventions, patents or design patents in Taiwan to make sure this kind of patents can protect your products and make sure your business can sustainability to stay. Yeah. And the fourth ones will be you need to join any kind of incubators or accelerators or startups in Taiwan, which endorsements by central governments or local governments. Yeah, and these other parts will be kind of difficult to achieve, so I won't explain too details. So I will be recommend you if you are in startups in Taiwan, and I will recommend you join any kind of incubator or accelerators in Taiwan, because they can provide you this kind of recommendations to apply entrepreneur visas. Yeah, so here are the brief requirements for the entrepreneur visa. So there are 8 documents you need to be prepared. So I enhance the button of the 3 ones. So for the 6 ones will be the Chinese version business plans. So for MOEIC's reviewing, you need to provide the Chinese version business plans which related to your own business idea and what kind of elements, innovations elements you will be involved. So like if you are like stars related to technology or any kind of economic, you need to enhance why it's the difference between the competitors in Taiwan, why they choose you to stay in Taiwan for your own business. Yeah, and if you join any kind of like incubator or accelerators, those accelerators will provide you the certificate documents from themselves. So it's just like a recommendations from incubator to support you to apply this kind of visas in Taiwan. Yeah, so here are the brief process for the entrepreneur visa. So they will be separated for two parts. So if you are in Taiwan, you need to be direct submit this kind of all of the documents to BOCA, Bureau of Consular Affairs. It's surrounding Taiwan. They also have in South Taiwan, North Taiwan, and also East Taiwan also. So like if you are in Taiwan, you need to submit this kind of document to BOCA. But if you are in abroad, you need to submit your documents to Taiwan's missions abroad. So which means it's right now it's during the like COVID times. From the abroad, the Taiwanese missions didn't I would say open this kind of applications for the foreigner to submit. So if you are in abroad, you want to apply the entrepreneur visas, you need to wait this kind of missions or embassies opens this kind of applications. But if you are in Taiwan, you still can apply this kind of visas right now. So if you are a foreigner in Taiwan and you have like a star ideas, please feel free to like try to apply entrepreneur visas to make sure you can legally stay in Taiwan for your own start business. Yeah, so here are the brief advantage for the entrepreneur visas. So for the entrepreneur visas, if your visas got approved, you can stay in Taiwan for 1 year for your own business. So like after you met some like standards, you can extend your entrepreneur visas for another 2 years. Yeah, so their advantage will be like you don't need to set up the companies in Taiwan. So you can bring your ideas to Taiwan and try the market, to test the markets. So you don't need to do a lot of like pressures about like I need to prepare a lot of like document to make sure I can sustainability stay in Taiwan for your own business. Yeah, and the third ones will be like if you are a team, you can apply up to 3 people as a team. So you don't need to apply this kind of process individually. So for the first part, it's kind of obvious. If you have entrepreneur visa, you can also apply ARC in Taiwan. So if you have ARC, you also can create your own like personal company bank accounts in Taiwan. And also if you have like kids or wife or husbands, you can bring them to Taiwan as well. Yeah, so here if you already met the entrepreneur visa standards and you already stay in Taiwan for 1 year already, so like you want to extend your visa. So here are the standards for extending the visas. So like if your annual operating income has been reached 3 million NT dollars or more, you can apply to extend the visas. So like you can see these 4 standards will be like quite complicated. So usually the entrepreneurs will use the third ones, which means it's the number of full-time Taiwanese employees hiring reach 3 or more. So if you want to stay in Taiwan for extending the entrepreneur visas, you need to hire 3 Taiwanese employees in the first years. So you can use these kind of recommendations to extend your entrepreneur visas. So the requirements will be kind of similar when you apply the entrepreneur visas in the first time. Yeah. So I already finished my parts about the entrepreneur visas, the visa parts. So after you have the visas, you will be facing about the company establishments. So which means is how to legally to create your companies in Taiwan. Yeah, so here are the brief contents about the company establishments. So here are the regulations of government's company registrations. So like I won't explain very details about the like regulations because it's kind of like complicated and kind of boring. So I will directly jump into like how to do the legally process to set up the company. So here are the brief like articles you can be like referred. Yeah. Okay, so here are the, I would say, quite important parts for doing the company establishments. If you are like foreign entrepreneurs in Taiwan, you usually will be facing this kind of act. The act will be the Money Laundering Controls Act. So for this kind of act will be like from the Taiwanese governments, they will be keep reviewing your investments from abroad and from yourself. So like for you can look at the Article 5, the third one. Lawyers, notarians, and accountants, when they prepare or carry out transactions for the clients, concerns the following transactions. So if you are the, I would say, brand new companies or like, how to say that, or like a representative office, you also need to be follow this kind of act. So if you are the organizations of contributions for the creations, operations, or management of companies, so you need to submit a lot of documents to prove your investment is legal. Yeah, so like here are the brief type of companies in Taiwan. So for in Taiwan, I would say special things will be it's a capital part. If in Taiwan we don't have the limits capital for the foreigners to apply, so you can use like I would say very little amounts of the money to invest to your companies. So which means is if you want to do the like small size companies, I would say in Taiwan is much more suitable than other countries, because in other countries maybe they have some like capital limits. So usually they'll be separated for two parts, is for the studios and the corporations. So if you are doing by like yourself or by to only maybe two partners, so I would recommend you to define which kind of like a type of company you want to be registered. So for the studios, it's kind of easy to apply because they only can investments by the like money by cash. So like usually you don't need to like provide a lot of like recommendations or certificates to prove these companies have a lot of like business products or ideas to make sure you can sustainable stay in Taiwan. But for the corporations, it will be like related to the limits company or called LTD. So which means is these ones will be the like I would say much more foreigners to focus on. So maybe you don't have enough like cash or money to invest by your companies, but for this kind of categories you can be use the fiscal properties or mandatory claims, each kind of like property to invest your companies. And also like you need to pay 70% like tax for like your enterprise incomes. Okay, so here are the brief process about the regulations of set out a company. So you can see this kind of like sheets or process to make sure you can easily understanding how to set up companies in Taiwan. So here are the briefing like process for the regulations for set up companies. Yeah. So like here will be take around 3 to 6 months for set up company because you need to get the investments improvements by the Taiwanese government also. Okay, so move on to the each steps of how to set up companies in Taiwan. It's the most important thing is the investments part, because you want to do the business in Taiwan, so you need to invest each amount of money in Taiwan. So here are the important documents called the, we usually call that Form A. So for the Form A's will be related to this kind of documents, which means you need to like mentions about how much capitals you want to fit into your companies, and what kind of like nationals you are from. If you are from Hong Kong or Macau, it's from the like different kind of type, or you are from like Indonesia, from Malaysia, you are overseas Chinese, you have different kind of category you need to be select. So like here are the examples, your like company name, it's like Willy Co Ltd, and like you are from the foreign nationals. Okay, yeah. And here are some like I would say basic informations you need to be like fill into this kind of documents. So these ones will be the important parts because you need to mention about how much like shares you will be subscribed to your company. So you need to mention about what is your values about your shares and like how much you want to be put into your companies. Okay, so like you need to mention about if you want to invest this kind of shares, how much money you need to be filmed to your company. So you need to be mentions about you want to use the foreign currencies or the Taiwanese dollar to film. So you need to check about like if you are from other countries, you need to also transfer the exchange rate for the NT dollars. Okay, so here are the like I would say summarize about the Form 8 for your like films informations. So here are the most important things will be the equivalence to New Taiwan dollars. So which means it's how much capitals you want to be filmed. Okay, so here, so for after you submit Form 8 to Taiwanese government, you need to create a company's bank accounts after this part. So in Taiwan, if you are from maybe Americas or from Europe, you didn't not usually like use the stamps very frequency, but in Taiwan, everything will be followed by this kind of stuff. So for this kind of stuff, you need to like apply this kind of things by yourself for even create a bank accounts in Taiwan or any kind of process. Okay, so after you got approved by the Taiwanese government from Form 8, you need to transfer the money from your maybe your mother countries or from your like bank accounts abroad to Taiwan. So after you transfer, the bank will give you this kind of like things. It's called inward remittance notifications and exchange memo. So you can use these kind of memos to verifications your capitals through this kind of document. We usually call them Form C. So for this kind of documents, you can be mentions about like how much capitals you already be filmed and like how much like I'll say how much capital you'll be filmed and like where did you transfer from which countries. Yeah, so after you filling this kind of documents, you also need to be submit to the central governments, and the central governments will give you the endorsements as well. Okay, so here are the brief like examples for Form C, so you can refer it. Okay, so after you got approved by the central governments, you also need to use this kind of like endorsements to join the accounting firms to do the verifications capital. So the accountants will give you this kind of documents, which means it's like in Chinese we usually call them like 验资报告. So it can prove your investments is legal and it can be used for your own companies in Taiwan. Yeah, so for the last parts, I will be moving to the talent hirings because you already finished your visas, you already set up companies legally. So how can I recruit our talents in Taiwan? So here are the regulations, contents for the Employment Service Act. So like for the brief will be like Taiwanese governments want to protect the Taiwanese nationals have an equal opportunity to get employment. So like they got a lot of like a standard for limits the foreigners to stay in Taiwan for working. So it will be directly related to the Article 46. So for the 46, they only have like eight categories for foreigners to do. So in today's parts, I will be much more focused on the first two parts. It's called specialized or technical work or directors, managers, investment or set up the companies by foreigners in Taiwan. Yeah, so for this kind of like regulations, it will be related to the permissions and administrations for employments for foreign workers. Yeah. So here are the eight categories I already been mentioned before. So I will be directly introduce these two parts, category A and category B. Yeah, so for category A, it will be if you are Taiwanese companies, foreign companies in Taiwan, but you want to hire foreigners, you need to be met these kind of standards for hiring foreigners. If you are a company established for less than 1 year, your capital need to be above 5 million NT dollars. So like if you didn't meet this kind of standards, you cannot hire foreigners in Taiwan. If you are the company established for more than 1 year, you need to meet this kind of standards, which means it's in the most recent year or for the past 3 years, you need to reach no less 10 million NT dollars for the turnover or actual imports and exports revenues. Yeah. So usually if you are domestic companies in Taiwan, you need to meet this kind of standard for hiring foreigners. And if you are foreigners in Taiwan and you want to join the Taiwanese companies, you also need to meet some qualifications. So usually you will be much more related to the second ones. You have more than 2 years working experience in your related specific fields. So which means if you want to do the marketing parts jobs in Taiwan, you need to have above 2 years experience related to the marketing fields. Yeah, so a lot of people ask what is this specialized or technical works? What kind of jobs can I do? So usually you will be conduct these amounts of categories in Taiwan. So they are related to finance, to lawyers, to healthcare, to a lot of categories. Okay, so that ones will be related to category A. So move on to the category B. So for category B will be you are a foreign, I'll say, startups in Taiwan, and the representative can use these kind of visas, can use these kind of standards to apply the working visas. So you have two choices. One is entrepreneur visas and one is working visas through category B. So for the employer's qualifications, you need to invest above I would say 500,000 NT dollars to make sure you can to your investments. Yeah. So these ones will be the standards for the employees to apply this kind of working visas. So one is your companies need to be invest above 500,000 NT dollars above, and you need to, and the applicants need to be I would say invest one of three amounts of investments to your company. So which means it's if you investments 500,000 NT dollars in Taiwan, you personally need to be invest 170,000 by yourself. So if you met this kind of standards, you can use category B to apply the working visas in Taiwan. So here are a brief introductions about if you are foreigners in Taiwan, here are the sheets you need to be referred. So if you are general foreigners in Taiwan, you didn't graduate from Taiwanese college or even bachelor's degree, master's degrees, or doctor's degrees, you need to meet this kind of standards on the left sides. So your monthly salary limits will be above this amount. So usually it's 50K NT dollars, and your hiring periods will be up to 5 years. Also, so but for the foreign students in Taiwan, you already graduated, you got the certificate from Taiwanese college, you only need to be met your new scoring criteria need to be above 70 scorings. Yeah, and your hiring periods can be above 3 years. Okay, so the last part will be if you didn't meet your companies or you didn't meet the standards for hiring foreigners. Here are the I would say benefits for the startups. It's called the directions of recognitions for start with innovations capabilities. So these standards will be the same with apply the entrepreneur visas. So for this kind of information, I also will recommend you to join any kind of incubators or accelerators in Taiwan, which already endorsements by the central government. So if you join this kind of incubators or like accelerators, you can loosen the standards for hiring foreigners. So your company, if you met this kind of capabilities, you don't need to, your capital don't have to need above 5 million NT dollars, or your like turnovers, you don't need to be met 10 million NT dollars as well. So for the advantage will be you can much more easily to hire foreigners to stay in Taiwan. So like if you are foreigners in Taiwan, I would recommend you to join any kind of accelerators or incubators. So they can support you to do a lot of resource connections or help you to losing the standards for hiring foreigners and company establishments. Yeah, so today here is my sharings. My name is Willie, and if you have any kind of questions related to starts, please feel free to scan this QR code and come to contact us. Yeah, thank you.